Okay, so we're in video number 5 now, I believe. And in this one, we'll go over a little bit more about the horror of what's happening. Because we've established the basement, which will work more into things later. The co author has really taken the basement and turned it into a whole mental situation where the darkness and there's there's a lot of things there that I don't fully grasp that she definitely does and is working on with her mind fracturing and so forth on this being alone for such a long amount of time. With with him, with Luke, this is becoming now more of a get to know her, right? Horror, what do you like, what do you not like, what makes you laugh, kind of creepy. It's very creepy, right? And again, I can't express this enough. I'm trying to work down, a lot of words and a lot of information into very short videos. So I'm definitely not doing this justice. But this is where things really take a turn for the worst, and I'm kind of looking here to make sure I got it right. The first real encounter of violence and assault that happens, and this wasn't, if I'm remembering correctly, now I could be wrong, this wasn't a full on assault. This was more of an oral thing, but it wasn't so much for her pleasure as much as it was for him. So, he kind of forced this issue, and it set her off a little bit. And then, of course, he's making deals, trying to make a deal about, if she goes the extra mile, if she actually makes love to him, he'll give her a space heater so it's not so cold in the basement. And this is one of those few areas where her character is fully capable of saying no, absolutely not. She won't do it. She's not considering it. It's just not worth it. She beats this idea around in her head quite a few times, but it's just not something that she's willing to go through. And that kind of leads into a few more days of absence after this assault. And eventually, after a certain amount of time, he takes her upstairs. Now, the first time, I'm trying to remember if he hosed her first or if he bathed her first. I'm pretty sure that she had become so dirty at that point that he used a hose to wash her. And this also was one of his deals. And the hose is from a natural well and was freezing water. So he used that to wash her off. Nothing too special, nothing too spectacular, but enough to get her some food and make her feel a little more human in his eyes. Of course, to her, this was just another form of torture, being washed off with a hose in freezing water. But at some point, he does start taking her upstairs, and originally he did this with handcuffs. So he would cuff her to himself and take her upstairs. And when he did that, I believe the first thing he did was bathe her, which was a huge deal for him, right? Climbing in the tub with her, not forcing himself on her, kind of building this trust that she can trust him. And her views on this is that she's really starting to see a difference between the way he behaves upstairs and the way he's behaving when she's downstairs. And so, he's treating her like she's fragile, like she could break easily. He's washing her body, he's washing her hair, but not the first time. I think he let her do a lot of that herself, and really just gave her the impression that she was safe and that he would stay back and would stay silent. And this is where she started to test her own limits. What would happen if she kissed him? Would he calm down? Would he be nice to her? So now she's trying to develop her own concepts of how to stop the beatings, how to stop the attacks, and keep him in a good mood. At the same time, you know, she's still looking at, this gets me out of the basement, this gets me safe, there's a chance I can escape, and all this stuff. She has no idea that to him this is just a momentary lapse where he's going to keep her upstairs and then eventually take her back in the basement, which he does. So during this time, he let her sleep in the bed, which he kept referring to her bed. He still wouldn't give her clothing at this point. And then, of course, once he finished, he took her back down into the basement. And she didn't sleep long. I think he gave her about 4 hours or so, tucked up against him. I cannot remember for the life of me if this is where, I think this is one of the times that he made love. Now this was quite different. The first time they did this, it was quite different than the assault. This was very passionate, very soft. And then I think they went to bed. I think that's how it worked. I could be wrong, though. That may have happened later on in the story. There's just been so much that's happened, so I get a little frazzled when I turned around on things. What really led up to after she went back into the basement is going into town and picking up things. Now, the town, I wanted to emphasize, is very small. It's your typical mountain town out in the middle of nowhere, struggling with cell phone reception. You know, maybe there's 1,000, 2,000 people in this town at the most. So I have some photos of the town. I have small town pharmacies, and the pharmacy, when he goes in there, he's trying to find some kind of over-the-counter birth control. And using a condom doesn't work for him, right? He needs to feel Ophelia as much as possible. So using a condom's out. There's some other tablets and so forth, like spermicides and things like that he looked at, but his concept, and remember, he's not done stuff like this before, so he doesn't fully understand what's going on. And eventually he learns about this morning after pill. And apparently the effectiveness of this pill is not very good if you constantly use it. He's not constantly having sex with her, but he needs to find a way to get this into her system. So he grinds up these pills and he's adding them to her food. Within 72 hours of them having intercourse, he'll add this to her food. The pharmacist is there. He meets the pharmacist. We go into some detail about some of the over-counter options that he has, and really that he should be speaking to a doctor and getting her on birth control and stuff like that. And from there, he kind of goes back and it falls into this routine. So once again, this isn't so much about lust. You'll find that while there is a lot of brutality and horror to this is more of a psychological horror, and it's not so much lust. It's there, but it's not continuous, right? So yeah, I'm trying to think of what the next big event was, and I think that the next real major event was the beating that she takes when he finally gets around to the point, because by this point he's taken her upstairs and downstairs a couple of times, showing her the difference. Oh, and he bought her a doll that she's really latched onto, this stuffed pig that she's really latched onto and is using as kind of like a safety blanket or a personal, you know, safe point to her. I think that, yeah, I think the brutality is the real big next one, and we'll talk about that in the next video, but I think that brutal assault is the real next one, and then it gets into some of the other stuff, so we'll go from there. But yeah, that's kind of this one. I don't know how much I really covered in this video, but hopefully it was something. I hope you guys are still enjoying it. If not, it's just for fun. I'll see you in the next video, yeah?